Hello and welcome back to another episode of 12th Man Podcast. We've got Darren Cassidy with us tonight. I believe it's his first appearance this season. He's coming on at a great time as well for his own club, Liverpool. Of course, the cup final has gripped Derry City this weekend, so if you are making your way down to Dublin, make sure to enjoy yourself and also have a very safe day. Darren, I suppose we'll start off by talking about the cup final because I know there's a few people that watch that are, they're might be Premier League football fans, but their focus is going to be on that game on Sunday. It's not been the best of seasons for Derry, but as we seen last year with Man United in the English FA Cup, a cup victory can paper over a lot of cracks.
Absolutely. We've been talking about how bad Derry have been since I think the start of August. They just never got going the second half of the season. I don't think anyway. It was hard to watch times. I don't know how they were second right up to the third last game of the season. They were second. It was just they weren't playing like champions elect anyway. And as people were saying on social media the whole week before, it was like whenever it was coming to play the last game of the season against Shelburne, like how did it become a 2-horse race and end up fourth? It's just mental, like.
It takes a bit of gloss off the year's first. Finished third in that 2-horse race. There, I have went more and done worse. They finished fourth in a 2-horse race.
That's right. That's right. Spurs and what was it? Spurs and Man City, was it, or something?
No, Spurs and Leicester, and then Arsenal came and finished higher than us. I suppose, Darren, you're going to be going down to the final on Sunday. Do you think it'll be, regardless of what's happened there at the back end of the season, do you think it'll be the slate will be wiped clean for this game, that everybody will be out to enjoy themselves and like there'll be a real strong atmosphere at the game and a massive positive following of the club?
I guess you'll get the following of the club no matter where they end up in the league if it's a cup final. Everybody will want to go down for the day out. That's from when I was younger going down to matches, that's what it was all about. No matter where Derry finished, it was a cup final. Everybody tried to get down at some stage, but I still think people have. I do anyway. You still feel a wee bit disheartened and but deflated from how it finished. You know what I mean? That defeat, the St. Pat's just knocked it sideways, like, and you're going to have boys going down, and the chat the whole way down between the Derry supporters is if Derry won the day, is Higgins going to keep his job? If Derry get bit today, he needs to walk away. You know what I mean? I think that's the whole thing about it.
I think that puts Derry under so much pressure that they're playing a team that they're expected to beat comfortably, and the Viva, draw a very good team at grinding out results and making it difficult. Especially at their own home patch, but they come to the big pitch, the Avivas. It's a different scenario. They haven't been there as a team for a long time as well. This team haven't had much experience of it. All the signs point to this being like, if this was Man City versus, I'm trying to think of a team that would be equivalent, a Crystal Palace, Man City would be huge favourites in this final. Is it the same? Obviously, it's not the same standard. There is a lot more shocks in Irish football, but would this be as big as a failure in terms of Derry in a cup final if they weren't to win this one as there's been for a long time?
I don't think it'd be a massive failure. I think if Drogheda beat us on Sunday, I think 75% of the crowd there wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean? It was because how bad Derry have been the last few months. We went down to Drogheda, and Drogheda didn't actually play well, but they had us. They played us at their own game. They counter-attacked, and they were brilliant on the counter-attack. Them two boys up front. As a Taylor and the other big boy plays up with him, plays in the left wing. They destroyed Derry, like. And now
that was a bad night for Derry today, because I think at that night that they lost 2-1, that was the night if they had won, they would have became favourites, and they never really recovered after that.
That was it, aye. And like these kind of results here play in your mind, you know what I mean? And I think Drogheda's nothing to lose. They finished second from bottom. Was it the second or third from bottom of the league?
They have a relegation playoff the following week.
Aye, they've nothing to lose. They can just turn around and say, you know what, we'll just come out. We might not be ever here again, so just go out, give everything, give 100%. Where they have everything to lose because of the way the the season ended, and they don't. They have to show. I think Higgins has to show for Son this season how, because the money he spent, the expectation. We finished second last year. We should have won the league this year, to be fair. Like, you know what I mean. But I think it's all the pressures in Derry on Sunday, and I don't know if because of the players they've got available. I don't know if they've got the gumption and the backbone to deal with the pressure. Like,
I think Derek could do a really early goal. But look, best of luck to Derry City and
yeah,
all the people connected, all the fans. Hope you have a great day on Sunday. Darren, let's get back to the Premier League because it's not just about a big game for Derry City. There's a lot of big games this weekend. Get into this international break, the third and final one of this money we break in the first part of the season. There's only one more international break after this, and it isn't until March. So really now it's about a clear run from November to March. This is kind of the international break where we often see a lot of managers lose their jobs. So when you look at some of the fixtures this weekend, you've got Chelsea against Arsenal, you've got Wolves against Southampton, which is a massive game for both. West Ham against Everton's another big game. So there's some big clashes, and there were some big ones last week. But let's start at the bridge, because this would have been a fixture a few weeks ago that Arsenal would have been looking at as, yes, Chelsea have improved, but will be huge favourites. It's probably not that way anymore. It's probably down as a 50-50. And the way it's been going for Arsenal, Darren, their title hopes are definitely on the line on Sunday, aren't they?
Absolutely. Like, the last couple of weeks, Arsenal just haven't been themselves at all. I don't know whether you can blame it on the injuries, you can blame it on form, suspensions, but they just haven't been themselves. They've been playing like Stoke City, if you ask me. They're just hoping for a corner to score and then grind out a 1-0 one. You know what I mean? And they're not being great going forward. Like, albeit they're still there. They're only 4 or 5 points behind. I still think they'll be thereabouts at the end of the season, no matter how Sunday goes. But I have a sneaky feeling for Arsenal on Sunday. Like, I don't think things can get any worse for them. Like,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? This kind of one would be a big confidence booster going to Chelsea. Whatever kind of form Chelsea are in, or whatever kind of team they are, still not easy going there.
No.
A one would be important for them. As you say, they've been on the wrong end of 2-1 nils this week. Maybe it's their turn to be on the right end of one. But as you say, is that something that if you're an Arsenal fan, you'd be worried about, that it's not particularly enthusing to watch? It's a lot of tight games they're losing out now on where they were winning last year. There's a lot of talk the mentality's improved, but they're coming out on the wrong end of these 1-0s at the minute, and the performances themselves haven't been great. I think there was a spell in the second half against Inter Milan. They looked a bit more likely to score, but they really look a little bit potent in that attacking area at the minute.
It's just I don't know what. As I said, I don't know if it's dropping form or they haven't got the quality they had before. Because last year, like, Arsenal they had a full squad the whole season last year. They didn't really have many of their big players out for a long period of time last year, and that's why they maintained that form throughout the season. But this year they haven't, and you can see the drop in quality whenever they're bringing our players in for like Odegaard and Declan Rice wasn't playing and the R8 against Inter Milan, and you can see it in the way the midfield. They weren't up to much in the midfield. Like, I know our very good friend Stefan has a lot to say about Purdy, but he just hasn't got the legs that Declan Rice has in the middle of park. Like, so I do have a sneaky suspicion for Arsenal on Sunday. I don't think Chelsea will be what they were against Brighton, where they just blew them away in the first half. Chelsea are very hot and cold. They weren't great against United last week, but albeit got a sneaky 1-0 draw. Like, so I just don't know how. Like, you don't know what you're going to get with Arsenal now these days either, Gareth. You just don't.
One thing that Arsenal fans have been quick to point out is that they've had a lot of tough games in these first 11. If you include the Chelsea game this weekend, they've been away to Villa, away to Spurs, away to Man City, away to Chelsea, home to Liverpool in there as well. they've had some tough games, but mainly the away fixtures. Do you think they have been slightly unfortunate? If Liverpool had to go to Man City, had to go to Chelsea, had to go to Spurs, had to go to Villa away, would they have as many points as maybe what they're arguing? Do you think they have a case, or do you just have to, accept what you do in those games? Because some of the other fixtures, they haven't been great on either that they've won.
Well, you say they've been away to all these teams, Spurs and the Man Cities, and like, but they got results there last year.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And you're hearing all these Arsenal supporters come out last season, this start of this year, going looking at the fixtures like, well, none of the big teams beat us last year, which is fair, which is correct. So, what's the difference between this year and last year? You know what I mean? It's the same squad. They've improved it, but they just haven't got the results.
The results are largely similar than last year. They beat Spurs this year and last year. They drew at Man City away last year and drew them away this year. They lost to Newcastle 1-0 both times.
Yeah,
they've improved on the Villa one, so they're 3 points up there. But they've dropped points at home to Brighton, and they dropped points at home to Liverpool where they won last year. So it's balanced out a wee bit.
Yeah.
And one thing that sorry, go ahead.
Bournemouth. They won away at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
That Bournemouth match showed you the quality that they don't have on the bench. They come on and replace the first team players. You know what I mean? That I can't mind what you call him. It was a fault for the second goal.
Kiwior.
Like he's nowhere near. He shouldn't be nowhere near that team, in my opinion. Like that team.
Just goes to show you as well. Arsenal have had some great fortune in the last couple of years with injuries. You only really think of the Saliba one a couple of seasons ago towards the back end, but you think about Saka, Odegaard, Ireland, Partey, really, he's been injury prone. They've had the guts of that team together, and this year's been the first real test, and they've come up short. Whereas City have always had injuries to players, Liverpool have had injuries to players, and they've managed to cope possibly better than Arsenal have. Would you say?
Oh, definitely. As it says there before, they last season that they were able to keep that consistent one, because of they were able to keep the same team on the pitch. It was the exact same whenever Liverpool won the league. They didn't have big injuries the year they won the league in COVID year, and they were able to just blow everybody out of water because they had no real long-term injuries. And it helps, like, it definitely does help. But, Arsenal weren't able to go up one step further last season and keep everybody fit. But this year, they can't keep everybody fit, and you can just see it. That the dip in the form's just there. You can for all to see, like.
Arteta's been speaking a lot in the last few weeks. I don't know with this guy, to be honest. So some weeks I think Arsenal I'm worried about them, and then other weeks I'm thinking, is this the man that's going to deliver them the success that they feel they should have? I mean, he complained the other night about the referee after the Inter Milan game. He thinks the 2 penalties went against them. He believes Arsenal should have had one, and the penalty they got against them was wrong. The Newcastle game, ironically, he was mentioning how they sat back in time with it, which Arsenal have been doing quite a lot this year. And it used to be at the start, Arteta would have a lot of responsibility on himself. He would maybe say, if the team wasn't performing well, but he hasn't done that too much this year. Maybe is that because of the pressure he's under himself, and he's been there a long time now. Do you think he takes enough personal responsibility? Because there's no doubt the way the team's playing is how he's asking them to play. I think Jamie Carragher done a piece on them the other night. The height and the physique of the players they're signing isn't by luck. They went for the technical kind of smaller players at the start of his reign, but they went in the last 2 years. After that first title challenge, they've went and signed bigger, stronger, more athletic players. So that's definitely by design. They've ended up with a squad that they have, and he's signed a lot of defenders, not so many attackers. So ultimately, really, he is the man in the firing line, but he's kind of trying to shift the blame elsewhere.
Well, I was watching his interview the other night there after they get bit by Inter, and he was saying about, he mentioned the fatigue and being tired. Well, I can tell you this, they're not tired lifting trophies anyway. Their arms aren't sore. So, I don't know how they're tired. They're fucking, I don't know. He needs to see by Arteta. Arteta doesn't, he doesn't come across as a kind of guy that'll be like Pep. Whenever Pep's teams get bit, he takes full responsibility. He says it was my choice, my tactics. It's all down to me. Nothing to do with players. The players tried their best, but Pep never comes out and says that sort of stuff. Like I remember a season there whenever Liverpool were they were bad, and I think it was 2022. They were awful. It was one of the seasons that they were really bad, and Klopp was coming out saying he blamed the grass, he blamed the rain. He was no, and this is where I think, and he was under severe pressure because they weren't playing well. I think that's where Pep is now. Pep's under that kind of pressure now. He's just trying. He's clutching for some sort of excuse to defer how bad they're playing from him. You know, I think he knows himself that if he doesn't win a trophy or something this season, he's under massive pressure. You can see it in AF TV and everything. Boys are shouting, roaring, going, "Oh, they need to win something. They need to get rid of him if it doesn't win anything." And that's his own supporters, like. So,
yeah, and I think the big thing as well is that, well, I remember watching the Amazon documentary, and I used to think he was very clever at some of them stories. He was, how to motivate the players. There's only so many of them here you can make up with, where you talk about the light bulb and he brought the speakers out the Anfield. He's only pull that trick once, and I do think it's there are certain things that are clever about it, but I do wonder his personality at times. I think obviously I don't want to compare him to Ange, but I think Ange is more of a type of character you would enjoy being around. I think a lot of these Arsenal players at the minute, they're playing with restricted tactics, almost like robots. They have to be in certain places at certain times. And, Saka, I think a lot of the time Saka's doing it off the cuff. He's a unbelievable footballer. But I think someone like Martinelli, who hasn't got the quality of a Saka, is really struggling. Trossard's like a rabbit in the headlights at the minute. Havertz doesn't know where to stay as a striker. They come wide, drop back. So I think a lot of the tactics are very restringent, very rigid and almost like a computer game. Whereas I look at the Spurs at the minute, and Spurs are 1 week they're good and 1 week they're bad, but you can kind of see that the players enjoy it and they're bombing forward and they're trying to score goals and they're getting caught out at times. But I just wonder if these Arsenal players are getting a bit fed up with these tactics. And we've seen it with managers that have had spells before, like a Pochettino, didn't deliver that success, and the players eventually lost belief. So I'm just wondering, are we in that period now for Arteta? If it doesn't happen this year, there's a real risk these Arsenal players, they might just say, do you know what? I don't believe in this anymore, and I'm lost in these tactics.
I don't think that the players will be. They'll not do what the players at Arsenal won't do what the players of mine done to Ten Hag, as they do to Arteta. I think because I think he's bought all these players. I think Martinelli he didn't play, and Saka he brought through. So most of these players he bought them, like. So I don't think they'll turn on him. But I can see if Arsenal don't do anything this season, and it goes on and then the next season, I can see that like some Odegaard is he's made for Barca. He's made for Barca. Just his way he is and way he plays. Players will look and go, well, I don't think, as you say, I don't think we're going to win much with this team.
Almost like the situation Spurs had every summer was Harry Kane needs to leave to win a trophy. Son needs to leave to win a trophy.
Yeah,
is that going to be the argument that's going to be, or the narrative from the media, that all these Arsenal players aren't going to win anything there anymore?
Absolutely. I think it could end up being that Arsenal are going down the same route as Spurs. It just they had these seasons where they were great and brilliant to watch, and you're like, this team's ready for the league, and then next thing, and they just shit the bed, like. And
it could come back to bite me, but I think they're going about it totally the wrong way. They've become a very unlikable team. Arteta's become a very unlikable manager. I think there's something they admire about doing things the way you believe in, like, and I can't deny that first season they challenged under Arteta. It hurt me as a Spurs fan because they were unbelievable to watch as well. They were doing it the right way. Whereas now, I think every team that plays Arsenal want to get one over them, and they've done that to themselves.
And you know who they remind me of? The Mourinho's Chelsea. The first time it came, it was everybody. He had that siege mentality, and I think Arteta's trying to build that. And Arsenal had siege mentality, us against everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like Jamie Carragher does say it, he's trying to win the league like Mourinho.
Yep.
and it feels that way. It's like I says it the other night watching them. I says it's like Tony Pulis is fucking managing Arsenal.
And I think the problem is now as well, the teams are better than they were 20 years ago. You have so much more competition. Most teams have got players from, like you look at some of the players that, like Bournemouth go and sign Porto's main striker. That wasn't happening 20 years ago. You weren't getting a
Yeah.
mid-table team going to Porto and taking their best player. No, that
And
just wasn't happening.
by the way, what a player he is! What is it? Infilson or something you call
Evan
him?
Nielsen. And that's
Evan-
it. And there's no talk of Bournemouth missing Solanke. Do you know what I mean? So that just shows you how well he's done.
I know.
Quite a bit of significant news regarding Arsenal this week, Darren, that Edu has stepped down in his role as sporting director. He'll serve out a 6-month gardening piece of leave before he joins Nottingham Forest's group. I think he'll only be a cost, and there's a Brazilian team and our team. I think Mangala owns 4 teams. So obviously there's a bump in salary, a more professional role, but just seems very strange. He's an Arsenal boy. You know, he's part of a big process there that, you know, in their own head, they feel they're very close to achieving something.
Aye.
Why would he leave? He all of a sudden, of course, there's money in football. But if Nottingham Forest were going to treble or quadruple Arteta's wages, I don't think he would leave Arsenal to go to Forest. I know this is slightly different, being in a business role.
Aye.
It just seems very strange, the timing of it all. I mean, it makes me think there's been some sort of disagreement between Arteta and Edu, and a bit like when Wenger was there, Arteta seems to have a lot of control at the club.
It just reminds me of whenever Edwards left Liverpool. You know, he was the main man at Liverpool whenever we won the league. We were building something every year. You've seen us get improving. And he was behind all the main transfers, the Mane transfer, the Salah transfer, the Van Dijk transfer, the Alisson transfer. And Eddie's been the same at Arsenal. And Eddie, he's brilliant. He brought on Declan Rice. He brought on Saliba. He brought on Odegaard and Raya, and I think Raya is brilliant too as well, by the way. But losing your sporting director is massive. People don't think it's because it's not on the pitch, but see behind the scenes the things these boys do, like it's unmatched.
You only have to look back at that Amazon documentary, how close like Martinelli was with Eddie because of the Brazilian connection. He brought him in, and he seemed to have a big influence around the training ground. He's not just, because he's an ex-player as well, and he was part of a successful period with Wenger. I think he was there when they done the Invincible. So, like, he will be a big loss, and his presence will be must.
Definitely, and you can see it is a massive role, and it does carry on the pitch, having a good sporting director. Like it's no strange that we've done well but after we brought Edwards and brought your man Richard Hughes, they're having something in the background doing what you can let the coach, the head coach, or the manager, and just don't worry about anything in the background. Don't worry about transfers. If you identify a boy, you tell them, they go and do it. You just have to worry about what's on the pitch. And I don't think Arteta has that now. Edu is not going to be there to do whatever he needs to do in the background. He's going to be worried sick now. So I think that news this week it's not ideal at the moment the way Arsenal's playing, and I think it'll get worse for them if they don't get a good sporting director on.
Final question on Arsenal, Darren. A lot of talk about the process, but at the moment, you say they haven't delivered anything meaningful anyway. Stefan's been pretty bullish on this podcast when he's been on, saying that the time's coming. This year will be the year. They've a mountain to climb at the moment, even right before this weekend. But you've seen it the other night on the social media, and they don't speak for every fan, but there does seem to be more of them kind of doubting, this is going to be the, I heard actually one fan say that maybe this is our Brenton Rodgers, and we need a Jurgen Klopp to get us over the line. So there is them questions starting to be banded about, and I do think it's a game they have to win on Sunday. But are they as good as what they think they were? Have they still a lot to prove?
Oh, I don't think they have a lot to prove, Gareth. I think what they have to do is win something. I think they've got a core. They've got a good spine in that team, and they've got good players around that spine. They're definitely a brilliant side. I think they're a great side, but they've just all of a sudden dropped in form. As I say, well, be it injuries, suspensions, or just form, they just aren't the same. Like on the Carabao Cup draw, and I told you all this. I didn't care if we got Arsenal or not because I would have been confident enough to go even there and get a result, or take them at Anfield and get a result against them at the minute. And I think some teams now, like teams in form, Forest, Bournemouth, even
Yeah, they
City.
sense an opportunity.
Aye, they'll not worry about, like Chelsea banged on 8 goals last night. Do you think them boys are going to be sitting going, "Oh God, we've Arsenal now on Sunday"? No,
Yeah, they'll see it as a good opportunity.
aye, they'll be chomping the bit, going, right. Arsenal were bit against Inter Milan. Inter Milan's not a great side, and they're not. And they didn't beat them. Look, Inter Milan were decent, but Arsenal just weren't great.
Inter Milan were a better version of Arsenal, so they were.
Aye, that's it. That was just, and look, the penalty was harsh. It was, you know what I mean. But you get them, you don't. But Chelsea will be ready for them on Sunday. But I just have a sneaky feeling for them because things can't get any worse. Like at the minute, I don't think they'll go three games or whether they won. I really don't.
Let's look at Chelsea, their opponents. Chelsea have been decent this season. They've had, you say, big numbers in games. Probably they're expected they won. The Brighton result was, and the Wolves games were they had big numbers in them games, maybe against better opponents. But the result last night, I don't think people will be getting too carried away because it is the Conference League. But as you say, it can't be any harm for the confidence. But they have struggled to beat the better teams, especially away from home. They've lost most of them against the better teams. They've had a few draws at home against the better teams, but yet they won really under, Pochettino didn't have a big victory on there. I don't think Graham Potter had a big victory on him. So there's a lot they prove against these better teams. And I thought last week was a massive opportunity to go to a big place like Old Trafford. I know they're not where they should be, Man United, but still a tough place to go. You look at how Liverpool and Spurs dispatched them, and Chelsea made hard work of it, and then in the end they were fortunate enough to get a draw. So have they from that old Chelsea team where they had that mentality they could go anywhere and won, they went to the new camp with 10 men and got a result. This Chelsea team light years away from that in terms of their belief. Yep. So at the minute, do you think there's a mental block when they play these teams that are big names?
I just think that the teams that as you say, they were scoring goals, plenty of goals against that there were teams that were playing open football, the same as Chelsea play open football, and like I said, Wolves, like I said, Brighton, they'll give you chances, and that's why Chelsea were scoring 3 and 4 goals in the first half, and you're going away to these big teams, it's always going to be tight. They're not going to give you much, and I think if Chelsea could play Brighton every week, they would, because of the fact that Brighton play the similar football. The Chelsea, it's all open football. It's not much about the defense. It's all about getting the ball forward as quick as possible, and that's why I think Chelsea will get much off Arsenal this weekend. Odegaard is rumored to be back as well, so that's a massive plus for them. But if Chelsea just want to play 5-a-side football all the time, and
it's funny, Darren, because it was only a few years ago that Chelsea, they love playing Arsenal, but it's swapped now. It's the other way around. Arsenal have enjoyed against Chelsea. You look at Chelsea's record last year against the teams that finished in the top 4. 1 point or 2 points against Man City in the league, and they lost the FA Cup semi-final to them. Arsenal 1 point in the 2 games, and the game they lost, they were beat 5-0. Liverpool, a draw at home and a 4-1 defeat away. Villa beat them at the Bridge, and they drew them away. So the big games they've struggled on, and there was times last year against under Pochettino where they were showing signs of a promising team. It started a bit better this year with Maresca. Whereas Pochettino had that really, really strong finish before he left. Arsenal have had some height, and they beat them 4-1 the year before them. So Arsenal have had the better of Chelsea in these last couple of years. So remember them Wenger years, and even after that, Chelsea, they love playing Arsenal. It was like their best. It was like their Spurs was an our fixture Chelsea enjoy as well, but Arsenal and were an our team. Drogba used to destroy them, and Arsenal hated playing them. Whereas it's the other way about now.
It is, and last season you seen it. Like Chelsea were, I think, were 2 up at home to Arsenal, and they were cruising. And they were cruising, and it could have been a lot more. And then Arsenal just clicked into gear I think it was last 20 minutes. And I think Declan Rice scored, and then I think it was Jesus. Went up and scored. Then
Trossard, I think it was.
Trossard. He went up and scored. It was 2 each in the last minute or something like that. And that was the kind of mentality Arsenal had last season. If they went 2 down, they weren't bit. But I don't think that's there this year for some reason. I don't know. But Chelsea are just you just get Chelsea in a good day, and it could be any score. As I say, they play 5-a-side football, and that'll play right on the Arsenal, because Arsenal play structured football. It's all about being there when you're supposed to, and they'll not let Chelsea run over them at all. Like Brighton let them run over them. In times Liverpool at Anfield, they were brilliant against Liverpool at Anfield. They like, to me, a draw was a fair result. They were really, really good. They were brilliant defensively too, and it's just 2 lapses of concentration that Liverpool won. And the one was a penalty, and then the it was a great ball through from Salah. Like, they didn't pick up a runner, but I think Chelsea, because you says about the big teams, it's just the big teams are just better organised, better organised defensively, and the midfield, they don't give much away, and that's why. I don't think, because Chelsea haven't got a lot going forward. You ask me,
What's that? Do you think there's still a lot more questions than answers with his Chelsea team? Does he know his best team? Jackson can be hit or miss. Neto has had an okay start. Mudryk still comes in and out. The midfield, there's still question marks about Fernandes. The defense isn't great. They make mistakes. The goalkeeper's very, very poor at times. That you still get that feeling that they're way short of being the team they want to be, because they've spent a lot of money. Yes, it looks like it's improved this year, but I still think when I'm watching Chelsea at the moment, I can expect them to lose any game. And I don't necessarily fancy them in the big games either.
Like, I watched the match last Sunday against United, and as you say, there's question marks massively between in the midfield and defensively. Midfield, I watched it, and I thought your man Romeo Lava was absolutely shocking. He was absolutely shocking. 50 million for him, and he's playing him at Old Trafford. He's only 20 years of age, but I think I'd have done all right against him, and I'm about 7 stone overweight. You know what I mean? So I think I don't think they knows his team yet. They just need. I think, as I say, I keep saying it. Chelsea need to play somebody that plays their same football as them to get a result. Somebody's going to come out and go at them and leave space for the.
I'm the same as you. I'm leaning towards Arsenal having a good day here on Sunday. But that one thing that I haven't heard too much of Chelsea fans kind of criticising Maresca, maybe the Pochettino thing. He was always under pressure with a bad result because of the Spurs connection. But do you think it's that because the expectations are so low now? They've had so many poor seasons under this new sort of ownership that, when they go to Anfield, play okay. Didn't play unbelievable, but they played good enough to, as you say, get a draw. Fans kind of thought, that's an improvement on what we've seen. Whereas any defeat at Anfield 4 or 5 years ago didn't matter if you played Liverpool off the park and lost, it wasn't acceptable. So it shows you how it's flipped around, that Chelsea fans are kind of content, thinking, do you know what? We went here last year and got battered. We went there this year, could have got a draw, made some mistakes, but you know what? I'm happy enough with
it. No, you're right. They've improved in results, as you say, on last season, and they've got a young squad. They are a young team. There's not many players over 26, 27 playing for them. Like, I think the oldest is Kirkachella. I think he's 25. I'm not 100% sure, but they have a young squad, a young team, and they only can get better. But is your man Maresca came on and he just snuck on the door. Nobody mentioned how bad they were going to be. He just snuck on the door. Nobody mentioned anything. Nobody was
Suppose
asking
people do
questions.
forget that, as you say, the young team, they are quite young.
They are.
They don't get the same flack maybe as Spurs because of the transfer spend. All these young players have been bought for big money, but that's not necessarily their fault.
Yeah, and that's totally agree with that. Like, no, as I said, their man Romeo Lava was crap last week, but he was brilliant against Liverpool. You know what I mean? And he's got Casado beside him. And Casado's one of the, I know he wasn't great last season, but in my eyes, see when he's the ball at his feet, he never gets he can hardly get him off. Like, but in saying that, they need to do something about their defense. Their defense is shocking. Like, you know what I mean? There's nobody at the back that you would even play in the D&D. Like, you know what I mean?
Gus Poyet was talking on TalkSport on the lead up to this game. He says Chelsea won on Sunday. They can consider themselves in the title race with Liverpool and Man City. Do you see that, or do you think they're more likely to be competing with like an Aston Villa and Spurs for that fourth spot?
I think they're more likely to be going. They'll be quite happy to be competing to get on the top four this season after the last couple of seasons. Like, that's showing progress. Like, they're definitely nowhere near competing with ourselves, Man City and Arsenal. They're not. Like, they might have a couple of good. They might have had a good game at Anfield, and they might have had a decent enough game the first game of season against Man City, although they were a bit 2-0. But they're not top four is their best bet and a trophy.
I think they're nailed on for that Conference League. I mean, it'd be a big shock if they weren't in the final, at least.
I looked at the table the other day. Shamrock Rovers are fuffing it, for God's sake.
I think they scored 16 goals in their 3 games, and that, like, so they're hitting big numbers and that, but they're not, as you say, the opposition. They've got Shamrock Rovers to play in December, and that's the level, unfortunately. Darren, we've been on for nearly 40 minutes here, and we haven't really mentioned Liverpool too much, other than a couple of drops. But Liverpool, of course, in action against Aston Villa on Saturday night, and look, they're in a great position, not just in the Premier League, but in the Champions League. As you say, they've progressed in the EFL Cup, have a nice enough game away at Southampton. Could be in our semi-final. Everything's going really, really well, much better than what anyone would have expected. And we Man City going to Brighton, and we know Brighton can be problematic, as we've seen for Liverpool twice. We get pushed them all the way in both games recently. And Arsenal, as we say, is going to Chelsea. Villa are out of form at the moment, and I have to say, I watched Villa obviously live at the Spurs game last week, and I wasn't impressed at all, and they were poor in the Champions League the other night. It could be a massive weekend for Liverpool in terms of winning their game on Saturday. Of course, Man City play slightly earlier, but come Sunday night, they could be sitting in a really, really, really strong position where there actually is a wee bit of daylight between them and their rivals.
We just have to look after ourselves, Gareth. You know what I mean? We can't be worrying about the other teams, because that's what happened under at times under Klopp. You were worrying about the Man Cities, you were worrying about Arsenal. And now I think Slot has them now just going, look, one game at a time, boys. We're not even going to worry about the table. We're not going to worry about the Champions League until maybe February, March time. If we're still sitting in the same positions in the league in February, March time, then we can start thinking, right, we're going to push on from here. But last weekend was a great weekend for us. Man City getting bit, Arsenal getting bit, and then we go and score 2 goals in 2 minutes when we were 1-0 down at home. And it just, like, don't get me wrong, it was the first, at times, and you can see it. Like, I've watched every game so far this season, and there's parts of the game that they're like, we're playing awful here, and then all of a sudden, and then all of a sudden, then bang, you're 3 up, and it's like against Leverkusen and Tuesday night, first half, you're like, we haven't started here, we haven't got started at all. With 1 or 2 opportunities, like, did you expect that at home? Like,
do you think that was a big one because of the Alonso kind of talk? Would it be him? And then it was Slot. There was always going to be that comparison. Like, if Slot wasn't doing well, there was always that comparison. Look at Xabi Alonso's doing at Bayer Leverkusen. If they had a Kane to Anfield and won, for example, and also as well, some of the fans, whilst they're enjoying it, they were saying it was a wee bit concerning that every game seems to be a wee bit of a battle, and there are 2-1s and 1-0s, and it's. Whereas they went out and put Leverkusen to the sword, and all in the Old Trafford this year, we haven't seen Liverpool do that at all. Most of the games in the last 2 months have been 1-goal margin victories, whereas they really put Leverkusen to the sword the other night. So I think that's a big one for some of the fans that were just going, are we going to have to sit here and bite our nails every week?
I couldn't. It's you're right. I was concerned at times. You're looking, going, we haven't started. What's going on here? Why are we playing so bad? And then you go on at half time, and it's maybe we're 1-0 down, or it's 0-0, and you come out in the second half, and it's just a totally different team. It's like they all went in, and they got their Popeye spinach, and the way they went. You know what I mean? And just blows the team away like within 5 or 10 minutes. I couldn't believe how well we played again in the second half on Tuesday night. We had a team that only has been bit once this season, once in 2 years, and was in the final of the Europa League last year, and albeit probably one of the best teams in Europe last season, and we just smashed them 4-0 at home, and it was a counter in the second half, and they didn't even put a glove on us. Like, all right,
yeah,
I'm like one good save Kelleher made. But that was it. You know what I mean?
Darren, of course, there was a lot of talk before the last international break of Liverpool's test coming. They seem they have passed that, but there is still some huge games to come before the new year. Just picked a few. Obviously, Villa at home this weekend. Whilst they are out of form, they're a team that's in the Champions League and finished 4th last year, just behind Liverpool. I'm just going to focus on the league games. They've got Man City at home, Newcastle away, Everton away, which we know is always a difficult one. The Merseyside derby away, the last Merseyside derby at Goodison. And they've also got Spurs away as well before Christmas. So some big games in there. And you look at most of them are all away from home. So they will be tricky. Is that going to be, will that run of games like we've spoke about some big games already? But, you think of the run of away games Arsenal have had. That's really tough run in terms of all those big games away from home, all in the Man City one.
Look, Gav, as a City before, it doesn't matter when you play them. It could be the first 10 games you can play the best 10 teams in the league. You just have to do it. It just has to be done, and you take it one game at a time. I know you sort of do look ahead and go, right. You do look at the Man City match and go, that's the big one. But in my eyes, I think we'll do all right at home to Man City.
I think that's the big week, isn't it? They've got Man City at home on the Sunday, Newcastle away on the Wednesday, and then the early kickoff away to Everton on the Saturday. I mean, that's a big 6 days.
That is massive. But as I say, I think the big games for me is all the way home. The home games will look after themselves. You know what I mean? I think that the crowd will get them over the line at the home. And against Man City, look, it just depends if Man City are back. But again, you know what I mean? They're the only team that they could have 4 or 5 bad results and then just not get bit for the rest of the season. You know what I mean? But it's away games for me. I think away slot has it set up, suits us away from home. You know what I mean? Suits us away from home. Like we could go away to anybody and just sit and suck up all the pressure.
They'll be happy to go to Newcastle and sit off. They'll be happy to go to Spurs and sit off and say, look, you try and break us down, and we've got serious firepower here in the break.
Absolutely. Like it was evident and against the was it Brentford? Brentford in the first 10 minutes battered us at home, and all of a sudden they got a corner. We broke on them, scored, and that was the game. And we scored again like that the exact same way again in the second half. So we don't mind sitting back. I don't think Slot minds sitting back and just seeing how things pan out. So he always says he plans for what opponent he plays, and I think you have a plan for every team. And look, I've got confidence in the team. I think we'll do all right in this run. It started with Chelsea, and we won every game. So, we drew away the Arsenal, but we won. We haven't been bit, and everybody was expecting us to fold.
I suppose the one negative at the moment is still the contracts are up in the air. If Liverpool come back after this international break, nothing's been decided, and you go on to Christmas, New Year, and you're sitting going, well, are these boys going to be here? If you start hearing rumours of such and such going here and there, because look, as much as the players won't want anything coming out, we know what agents are like, and we know what journalists can be like. Could that be the one that really hurts them more than anything else? Because they've proven, as you said, in these last few games, they can go anywhere and get a result. They can beat anybody at home, and they don't have to be at their best. They won. So that could be if any news breaks or one of them decides they're going in January, for example, on a pre-contract, that could be the one that spoils it.
We can't have another season like we had last season, where after Christmas, Klopp came out and went, "I'm leaving at the end of the season," and it was like, right, one last dance, as they called it, and we didn't get over the line. And we don't want that in January for Salah or Van Dijk or Trent to come out and go, right, I'm moving on in the summer, blah, blah, blah. And it just puts more pressure on the team, and they maybe try and get a trophy for them or try and get the league for them, you know what I mean, before they leave. You don't want that. You rather have it done and dusted. Like after that last run of games there, I'd got the three of them on the room and says what he's want. Salah, you want another 2 years and the same money. Boom, there you go. Trent, you want an extra 50 grand a week? There you go. Van Dijk, do you want another 2 years and the same money? There you go, bang. And then you can end your career here. That's what I would have.
Which of the three do you think is the most important to get done, in your opinion?
Salah.
Interesting. I think that Danny Murphy says Van Dijk, and then other people are saying Trent because of his age. So it's obviously divides opinion. But I agree with you. I think Salah's priceless. Like, you just can't replace that.
Like, he's the most underrated player. He never won the Ballon d'Or. He should have. Definitely. Like, I think he's only 11 goals behind Thierry Henry in the all-time goal scoring.
I think that's very similar too.
And like, he's got 9. I think he's got 9 goals in the league this year, and he's got like 7 assists.
Yeah.
And
his output's just unbelievable.
Oh, unreal! And like, if it wasn't for him last season and even the season before, we wouldn't have been got to where we were. Like, we has goals, the game ratios unreal. Like, it is. To me, he's the most important player we have, and he's never been like he was injured. I think you never hear him being out for a extended period of time.
At the start of the year last year, that was it, really.
He's so robust. Like, where Van Dijk was out with an ACL, and then you've got Trent. He was out with for a while last season. Like, don't get me wrong, Trent's brilliant, and to me, he's the new breed of right back.
I think he's the most likely to go out of the three.
I think that too as well. I think that Real Madrid can get on his head. I really do. But I wouldn't want none of them to go. But if you were asked, if you were saying to me, right, pick one now and they're going to stay, I'd pick Salah all day long. Like Van Dijk's brilliant and he's a presence, but you can always get another Van Dijk, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think you get another Salah.
No, I mean, you're comparing him to Henry, and I mean, Henry was 20 years ago, so that just shows you. Darren, let's look at the rest of the weekend's games before we come off. Of course, no 12:30 kickoff tomorrow. Because the Liverpool Villa game has been moved to 8 o'clock due to Aston Villa playing away in the Champions League on Wednesday night. So you have to wait until 3 o'clock for your first taste of Premier League football this weekend. So it starts in the 3 o'clock games. Brentford are taking on Bournemouth. Both of these teams are quite strong at home. So you would imagine that favours Brentford. But Brentford have this habit at the moment where they concede, where they score first and count one. And the other night was a heartbreaker. Even though Fulham probably deserved it on the chances they created, it was harsh on Brentford how it happened towards the end. And a former Liverpool player, Harry Wilson, was the architect of that. I don't know what they make of this game because I think Bournemouth are better to watch, but they struggle away from home. Bournemouth,
yeah, I do. They do. Bournemouth do struggle away from home, but Brentford are that kind of team that they come out and they fucking railroad you for 10, 15 minutes, and if you howl out to them, they run out of ideas very, very quickly. Like,
yeah,
if they score first, they're still not like
they don't seem to be as defensively strong as they've been in previous seasons.
True, I totally agree with you. Like, they're easy to get at. You've seen it
because I mean when they played us they scored after about 20 seconds.
That's right.
I mean, we scored 3 goals and could have scored another 10. And every game I've watched them, even the Fulham game the other night, them games gone by, they were better on the counter attack. I think they beat Fulham 3-0 last year, and they don't really mind about not having the ball, but they always have more of a threat. I think with Tony gone, They don't have that real focal point, and then Buemo's a lot of pressure on him. I think it's got to him a wee bit, and they never really had any outlet the other night, so they were constantly under pressure. And I just don't think defensively they're strong. So it's a hard tactic they ride out, especially when they're scoring so early in most of these games. They have to try and see out 95 minutes.
They're conceding a lot of goals too as well. Gareth, you seen there, what was it? Like, was it Wolves, Max? It was 4-3.
5-3. And then Ipswich, it was 4-3.
4-3, yeah. So, they're conceding, and if you're conceding 3 goals at home to Ipswich,
and Ipswich at 10 men.
I know. He started looking, and they scored with 10 men as well. So you need to start looking at yourself. So I think this one's going to end up like Bournemouth are great going forward. Your man Semedo and as your man Porto, the ex-Porto striker, brilliant they are. They're quick, really good on the ball, not afraid to take their man on. And they'll have some confidence now going on to this game after beating Man City last week. So I think I'm going to go for 2-1 Bournemouth.
I'm going to agree because I can't sit here and talk Bournemouth up and then just go away Brentford because they're at home. So I think Bournemouth as well. I'm going to go for 2-1 Bournemouth. Crystal Palace take on Fulham at 3 o'clock on London Derby. I have to say I'm very impressed with Fulham this season. Really good to watch. Brilliant football. Seem to have, a lot of people worried about them with Paulinho going, but they seem to have improved the overall team with that one sale. Smith Rowe's been good. Nelson's been good. Traore back to his best. Jimenez looks back to his best. So they've really, really improved. And I have to say, pleasure to watch. I do think it's as good as Fulham have been for a long time. Thinking back to the Moussa Dembele days and when they clamped Dempsey and they were pushing for Europa League. Don't think that's out of the realms this year for Fulham. They even sneak on the Conference League place or have a good cup run. Palace, awful start to the season, but they have turned a wee bit of a corner. And we know how difficult it is going to Crystal Palace. They never really lie down at home. So it'll be a real test of Fulham's character because away from home, the results haven't been there. You think about how well they did against Everton and they were still caught out at the end with a late goal. And we've seen against Brentford the other night, they create so many chances, but just not the chances they created at Man City, for example, where Traore was clean through 3 times. They aren't the most efficient in front of goal. So that will give Palace some hope. And Palace are the type of team that can dare with a 1-0 or a 2-1.
They're Palace. They're like Wimbledon of the early 90s. They just ground out results whenever at Selhurst Park, and it's as you say, it's hard to get a result there. Not many, like Man City even struggle to get a result there. And that's saying something. I think because they beat them 2-1 or so this year, but they were lucky to beat them 2-1. But I as you say, Fulham's been really, really good. Your man Wilson's goals the other night, I don't even know if he didn't mean it. It was good instinct, you know what I mean? Just with that flick. And they've a good Jimenez up front. I've always liked him, even when he was playing for Wolves. I thought he was a good player. He puts himself about. He's not afraid to run on behind, and he's not afraid to get stuck on too. So I fancy Fulham, and I fancy Fulham at 2-0 here.
I just think if this was at home, I'd be back in Fulham all day, but because of the Palace being at home, I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Just West Ham, 2 big games, and they are 3 o'clock games. West Ham take on Everton, a huge game for Julian Lopetegui. A lot of reports this week. Failure to get a victory will cost him his job. We know West Ham are ruthless as well. Sullivan apparently went against the board and employed Lopetegui despite the cases put forward by the sporting director, but he's quickly realised that it could be a mistake, and apparently any type of failure to win will result in Lopetegui being dismissed during the break. Everton, another club where new owners coming in, they don't really like Sean Dyche's style of play. That defeat against Southampton last week was a big one for him. The week before, they scripted the draw against Fulham at home. So Everton in a wee bit of a rut as well. But it'll be interesting because just on Everton, I think it will be a big gamble to sack Sean Dyche just based on his knowledge to get you over the line in a relegation battle. Maybe when you move on to the new stadium next year, you want to go a different way, fair enough. But for this season, I'd be sticking with him. What would be your thoughts on that?
I think Lopetegui's going to be at the job centre Monday morning.
Yeah, Everton will get a result.
I just don't see. I can't see. West Ham were very, very fortunate to get a result against United the
Yeah.
last home game. They were very, very, very fortunate. Like,
And when they seem to lose as well, they get battered. They seem to have been hammered. Like Liverpool beat them 5-1 in the cup. Spurs beat them 4-1. Forest beat them 3-0. You know, there's a Chelsea beat them 3-0. There's been a lot of heavy scorelines in there.
They're not. I've never thought the last 2 seasons. I've never thought West Ham were a great side. Every time I seen Liverpool play up against them, I wasn't worried about it because I knew we were going to get a result. Even when we went 1-0 down to them at home, whenever we played them in the cup game, I wasn't worried because I knew the chances were going to come because they're just awful to watch. And Lopetegui's tactics, you know, he's playing Bowen deeper and expect them to come back and track back and help out, but it's not Bowen's game. He doesn't. He can't do it. And we call your man Paqueta.
Paqueta.
Aye, since has failed move to Man City, he hasn't been the same player.
Yeah,
he hasn't been the same player, and I just don't think they have the quality.
Kudos has also got an extra 2-game ban as well.
See, Kudos is now that's the only player I take out of that team is Kudos, and that's it. But Everton are they don't know who you're going to get. They could surprise you with a 1-0 and off a back of Keane's head from a corner kick. You know what I mean? And then they would just sit back and just expect one ahead, see what you can score. I think Sean Dyche will not want to lose this game because if he loses this game, that's 2 games he's lost in a row. They has rivals in the relegation zone. You know, Southampton last week, which was a bit rough. Like it was lousy. Like, and then this West Ham team, because in my eyes, West Ham's going to be struggling this year as well. And you're not one lost 2 games in a row against your rivals. Like, so Dyche will go there looking for either a draw or they'll get a 1. And I think they'll get a 1 by the skin of their teeth. They'll get a 1. I think they'll score early, and then it'll be all about if West Ham can get a goal in.
So you're going for a 1-0 Everton 1?
For a 1-0 Everton 1.
I'm going for a 1-1 as well. I'm going to be really tight. Wolves Southampton is the final 3:00 game, a huge game. More so for Wolves after Southampton got off the mark last week. Again, still a big game for Southampton as well. I think this will be the 3:00 game I'm most excited to watch because Southampton kind of like to play out, and Wolves put on that high press. So I think this could be quite good to watch. Gary O'Neill's still been bullish, says he's the man to turn it around. I do like him, but he needs to buy himself time. And I think if they don't win this game, his position's going to come under real pressure because you're on the 11 games in. They have had 2 home games against Palace, who've been struggling, and Southampton and haven't won any of them. And to be honest, they were lucky to get a draw against Palace last week. Palace should have beat them. So that type of performance, if that was to happen again and they don't win, I think he will run out of places they go. So I think this is a must-win game for Wolves. I don't know how you feel about it, Darren.
I feel sorry and Gary O'Neill at times, like, because some of the decisions go against that team. If it was your own team, you go off your head, like. Yeah. But in the same sense, too,
they've forgotten how to win a game of football, and that's the biggest there.
They're the masters of their own demise, like they really are. Like the way the mistakes they make is at the back is unbelievable. You can see it. They haven't got the legs in the middle of park that they had maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago. Like Gary O'Neill, he's got this team playing, and don't get me wrong, your man that Hung boy, or I know Wang. He's brilliant, but he's like Darwin Núñez. He needs about 7 shots on target to get a goal. You know what I mean? And they just haven't got that killer goal scorer that they need. They've got everything else. They just need that killer goal scorer, and they just don't sit. It doesn't sit right with me. They're going to be Southampton. It's going to be a 1 each.
And that's it. He's had to deal with so many player saves as well. He's lost all his best players. You know, Kilman was the latest to go. You know, he was their centre back, and he's gone to West Ham. And just seems there was somebody else left in the summer too. I can't think off the top of my head. Now there was 2 big hitters they lost. They're 2 best players.
Lima went to Bournemouth as well, and then one or was it Jimenez went to Fulham?
Aye, but there was somebody last in the summer too. I can't think now who it was. There was Kilman went and somebody else went.
Oh, Neto went to Chelsea.
Neto. They lost their two best players. Neto went to Chelsea, and like he didn't get to replace him at all.
And then your man too as well left as well. We call your Podence.
Yeah, they lost him, and they've lost players like Neves, and time's gone by, so they've lost a lot of players. And I do think Wolves will struggle regardless of who comes on. To be honest, but I think they just let themselves so thin. But huge game for them, and I'm rooting for Guardiola to win this one. So I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Wolves one.
I'm going for a one each.
One each.
Mm-hmm.
Bumper Saturday night football selection starts with Brighton taking on Man City. Obviously Liverpool and Villa after, but huge game for Man City. You know, they've lost 3 games in a row, the first time since 2018. Spurs, Sporting Lisbon, and Bournemouth. And again, this one's away from home, so it's a losable game. Brighton are a good side as we know. But only thing I would say is, as much as I think Brighton can cause them problems, it's a great game for Man City because Brighton won't sit back. They won't put 11 men behind the ball, and City can expose them. So, in a roundabout way, I think it's a nice fixture for Man City, even though it will cause them problems at times. I do think this is the type of game they need, as opposed to playing an Everton away.
Aye, I do think you hit the nail in the head there, Gareth. It's perfect for them because, as I always say, Brighton will let you play. Brighton will want to come out and play from a back and play that exciting one-touch football that they play. And they'll give you chances and there'll be space. But I think it's going to, I think Man City will win, but I think Brighton will score as well. I don't think it'll be as easy as Man City would like it to be.
You're going for a 2-1?
I'm going for a 2-1 Man City.
I'm going for a 2-1 as well. Late night football on Saturday, 8 o'clock kickoff. Liverpool against Aston Villa. Callum's going to this game, so enjoy the game, Callum. He's going to this game. I think it's his girlfriend's first time going as well, so he'll be hoping that she's better up because Callum actually tasted defeat for the first time in his Liverpool watching career with Nottingham Forest. So he'll be hoping that this doesn't turn into a wee bit of a sticky spell, but I think this is a great time to play Aston Villa, Darren, to be honest. I thought they were pretty poor against Spurs. They time wasted a lot. I couldn't really believe it that they went there to try and get a draw and sit back and watch them against Club Brugge. And I know I think in a way the mistake peppered over their performance because they were awful. You know, the Mings thing graded the headlines, whereas I thought they were really bad against a really poor Club Brugge team. And I think the last thing they need is going to Liverpool. I think they need to pull themselves in at the international break and come out at the other side of it because the run of form's been worrying. They lost a Palace in the Cup at home, drew with Bournemouth at home in the league. So it's not just them last couple of games. It's been a money run now. And I just think Liverpool will be far too strong at home. They've got the ride and the crest of a wave at the minute. And even if Liverpool aren't at their best, we know this year they can win games.
I think the whole Champions League and has caught up with Aston Villa now. You know, I think that they haven't got the squad for the whole Champions League playing a match in a Premier League match on a Saturday and then out the God knows where on a Tuesday or a Wednesday they play a quality opponent. You know, I think they look tired. They look tired to me on against Club Brugge. They did look really, really leggy. Where I think that we look brilliant in the second half. We looked like we could play for an hour, 2 or 3 hours. You know what I mean? When the hustle went, like we were able to take players off. After the third goal, they start resting them, like and you know, as you say, I'm looking forward to this game because it is a good time to play Aston Villa. But Emery always has something up his sleeve.
Well, that's it. You can't underestimate him. But I think the one it'll be for the likes of Callum at the game. It'll be a frustrating one if Liverpool don't score early, and they haven't been scoring early at home this year. I think Liverpool could really do with taking the second half against Leverkusen and Brighton and turning on the first half here because Villa made life really difficult for Spurs in that first half last week. They time wasted, they lay down injured, and Spurs it got them in the first half. I think Ange definitely sort of gave him a bit of a rocking at half time and says, look, Don't let it bore you. Get out and play. Get the quick free kicks. Get it moving quick. Don't be trying to buy into the stoppages. And it still continued, but Spurs managed to find a way through. And I think as well, when you do that for so long, I think once Spurs got that first goal, the heads of the Villa went down. They were holding on, and they realised, look, we've just held them for 45 minutes, but they've scored right after half time. And no matter what Villa did, Spurs were providing answers to that in the second half. So I think for Liverpool, they get an early goal, and it just changes the mindset of the Villa players. They weren't able to deal with the adversity of the setback. Once Spurs come back, they won each. And I think the atmosphere as well definitely helps Spurs. And I think you've seen that in the second half last week against Liverpool or against Brighton. The crowd really got on Liverpool's side in that second half. And envisage this will be a very similar type of game to the Spurs Villa game, where Liverpool need to fight the adversity the Villa will put up, and a goal will definitely change the crowd's perception of where the game's going.
I totally agree with you. Aston Villa could not deal with the Spurs' intensity in the second half. When Spurs showed the lack, the fight and the intensity in the second half that they lacked in the first half, and Aston Villa couldn't deal with it because Spurs just everywhere. Anytime any Aston Villa player got a ball, there was 2 or 3 men around them. You know what I mean? The second half, they couldn't cope with it, and they crumbled. After the second goal, they just crumbled. And I hope that they do the same on Saturday night. To be fair, but you just don't know Aston Villa. That them 2 defeats there, Emery won't be too happy with it, and he might come around and say, right, look, we're not playing our best football. We're tired. We need to get this international break. We go to Anfield, we get a draw. We sit back. We waste time. We do everything we can to get over the line with a point. If we can't get the one, we'll try and get the point. But I think if we get an early goal, it's game, set, and match. To be fair, so I'm going to go for a 2-0 Liverpool one.
I agree, 2-0 Liverpool. Moving on to Sunday, 3 games at 2:00. One of those will be Ruud van Nistelrooy's last game as United's interim coach. Funny, all 4 games are at home. You couldn't have handpicked a better set of fixtures, if you ask me.
I know.
If he comes out of this way, a Europa League one, which they didn't have, a progression in the League Cup, a home one against Leicester, and a decent point against Chelsea at home, I think that's gone as well as he could have hoped for, really.
Absolutely.
And I think Leicester, as we've seen, they battered them in the Cup. It's a nice fixture. I think Leicester are fortunate they have as many points as they have, to be honest. But credit to them, they dug in, and they've stayed on games when they were second best, and they've managed to score a lot of late goals and peg teams back that were 1-0 up against them. But yeah, I watched United last night. First half was pretty poor. And again, I still think they're playing off the cuff and relying on individual. But Diallo's 2 goals were fantastic. The header was excellent. It was like a proper centre, and the second goal was about it reminded me like a Salah type goal. So yes, it was better, but I do think his 2 goals papered over their performance. And there was a couple of massive chances for Pauk. I mean, there was one. It was a back pass to the goalkeeper.
Oh, you're mad!
Whilst I think United are far from showing real levels of improvement, I just wonder if Leicester can hurt them. I think this will be a good game for Ruud to sign off with. Because I don't think he'll be here after. I think he'll be out. I don't think he'll be staying on.
I think Armand going to have his own team, and he wants his own. And he put his own stamp on it. Not want to have to bet anybody else on, including Van Nistelrooy. I actually don't think that, like say Eriksen, Rashford, Shaw, boys I got there, I'll be here. It'll be at Old Trafford next year, but that's for another discussion. But I think United will absolutely blow Leicester away on Sunday. I really do. I think they'll be up for it. Last game for Van Nistelrooy. He's been there from the start of the season. He knows the players. I just think that Leicester's not good enough for me. I think they're going to go. I think they're getting relegated. And I think United will 3-0 one here for United.
I'm going for a 3-1 United one. The 2:00 live game on Sunday is Nottingham Forest against Newcastle. Nottingham Forest surprising everybody this season. We know what Chris Wood did to his former club Newcastle on Boxing Day last year. And I suppose that's where it all started for Nuno. He got that big one at St James's Park on Boxing Day, and he managed to keep them up. And this year they've went from strength to strength. I've said numerous times this year, Darren, this Forest team reminds me of Nuno's Wolves. Very good in the counter-attack, very good defensively, and can cause any team problems. And the confidence of Wood, I think he scored the most goals from the least amount of quality chances in the league. So he doesn't need half a chance, really, and he can score a goal. And when you're a striker on form, these things go for you. Newcastle have definitely improved in recent weeks, as we've seen. It was a bit like the old Newcastle last year we've seen when they dug out Arsenal for a 1-0 win. But I'm still not totally convinced of them away from home. So I'm leaning towards Forest here for an R1, to be honest.
I'm loving Forest at the minute. I really am. It's great to see a team like that came up 2 seasons ago, barely stayed in the league last season, and now they're third in the league, playing great football. Went away to Anfield. Look, they didn't do much that day, but they got the 3 points. Fair play. They're beating teams running around them, and that's all they need to do. But I totally agree. I think Forest is good for the 3 points here on Sunday. I do. I think it'll be. I don't think Newcastle will let them away with what most other teams let them away with at home, but because Newcastle have a better midfield. But no, I do. I think Forest are good for 3 points here. I'll go for a 2-1 Forest 1.
I'm the same, darn 2-1 Nottingham Forest. The final 2:00 game on Sunday sees Spurs take on Ipswich. And with how the fixtures have fallen this weekend, Spurs could really do with 3 points here, and they could make some inroads up the league table. They could finish the weekend as high as third if results went their way. Darn Spurs at home, usually good for 3 points and plenty of goals, but we know they can also help teams out that are struggling for victories. We've seen that against Crystal Palace, albeit away from home. Spurs up and down this season, Darn. I know they made some changes last night against Galatasaray, but just can't never seem to. Once you get a good result here, they can never seem to follow it up with an R1. But I think this is a great fixture for them. I think Ipswich is going to really struggle to hold Spurs out.
I know you're getting a bit of stick off the boys this year about saying, "Oh, we're playing good football, but we're not getting the results." But this here game is perfect for Spurs. Like Ipswich will just come and play their style of football, and I think they'll come on the hands of Spurs. I think it's going to be 4-0 to Spurs. I really do.
I'm going to go for 4-1 just because I never trust us to keep a clean sheet. But I do agree. I think this is a great way to sign off.
Is Van der Ven back?
Not after the international break. And of course, Man City away next after international break, which will be a very interesting watch how Spurs go there. We know how it went last year, 3-3 draw. You know what Irons is like. We don't change their game for anybody.
Oh, no.
But yeah, the only thing about that is I don't think Man City will look forward to us going there and playing that high press attacking football.
Because the minute Man City can't deal with it, look, you seen it the other night. The Sporting done it to them, and they couldn't deal with it. Like they couldn't get out, and Sporting had them on the counter a few times. And it was Man City just don't look themselves. To be fair, but as I say now, Spurs 4-0. I think it's a nailed on victory.
The test for Spurs, I think, comes after the break. Man City away, Roma at home, Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home. They've got some tough ones, and then you look at Forest away on Boxing Day. Before they play Forest, they've got home to Liverpool and home to United in the Cup. So that December run is going to be pretty interesting and see how Spurs go this season. And darn, finally, we spoke about this game earlier. Chelsea-Arsenal is the final fixture before the international break. Huge game. We spoke about it earlier. How do you see this going? You were favouring Arsenal earlier on.
I'm not going to change my mind, Gareth. I still think Arsenal will grind out a result here. I think that Arsenal they'll be too strong at the back in the midfield and at the back for Chelsea. Chelsea are great. They're great going forward if they've got the space and time. Arsenal won't give it them. And with Odegaard, remember he's coming back. They'll have that. But craft in the middle of park where he could see a pass where nobody else can see a pass. You know what I mean? And it just cuts the defence in half. So I'm going to go for an Arsenal 1-0.
I agree as well. We agree with a lot. I'm going to go for Arsenal 1-0 as well. Darren, it's been great having you on for the first time this season. I'm sure we'll be back on again. Enjoy the cup final on Sunday, and let's hope Derek can bring the trophy home. If you're new around here, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content, and we'll see you very, very soon. Enjoy the international break, and we'll be back for the proper Christmas running then.
Good man. I'll chat to you again.
Thanks, Darren.
Cheers.